Hey gals, welcome to Binge Free Bestie, the podcast where we ditch the diets, break free from binge eating, and build a safe and empowered relationship with our bodies. I'm your host, Nick Carberia, a registered therapist who totally gets it. Binge eating and body image struggles? Yep, I've been there, done that, and I've got the therapy bills to prove it. But here's the good news, bestie. I've recovered and I'm here to help you to do the same. This poddy is all about real, evidence-based strategies from my therapy practice, plus down-to-earth, relatable girl talk with me and some of my amazing besties and other experts who have their own stories, tips, and tricks to share with you. So, whether you're tired of the diet cycle, ready to ditch the shame spiral, or just want to feel more confident in your own skin, then you've come to the right place. It's time to get real about food freedom, body acceptance, self-care, and building a life you truly love. Let's get into it, besties. Hey besties, welcome back to Binge Free Bestie. I'm so excited to have you here today because I have a friend with me. I am so excited for this chat. Her name is Toni Rudd. She is a dietitian based over in Lima, Peru. She's originally from the UK and she's soon to move over to the Philippines. So she is a jet setter and she's also someone who totally gets it. So she approaches food in that same non-restrictive, compassionate, really realistic way that we absolutely love around here. So I thought she would be the perfect gal to invite into the space to have a conversation, especially because Toni is a dietitian. I'm a therapist, so that means she's going to bring in a new angle and some new tools that maybe aren't necessarily in my toolkit. So I love that. And what we're going to be chatting about is, you know, that feeling when you've technically eaten enough, so you're full, you know you're full, but you're still feeling a little bit unsatisfied. Or maybe you finish your dinner and you find yourself standing back in front of the fridge just looking for something. So your stomach is like, hey, we're good, I'm full, but you're just looking for that little bit of something, something. So, what we're going to dive into today, the first thing is around how to make food truly satisfying and how physical fullness doesn't always equal satisfaction and what we can do about that. We're chatting about how we can make food fun. So, taking away that guilt, taking away those rules, those shoulds and musts, without every meal having to be something overcomplicated. And because Toni is a dietitian, we also have the opportunity to talk about something that comes up a lot in our space and a lot in recovery, and that is meal plans. So, we're going to talk about why meal plans can be really helpful in your recovery, or sometimes, diet culture has convinced us that we need to follow a strict set of rules or a regime, but we are going to learn how that planning and meal planning can be a helpful tool and something that's not so restrictive. So, Toni, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Maybe a good place to start would be to hand over to you and just tell us a wee bit about, well, you and your background and how you got into this quite, particular line of work.
Yeah, so hi everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I am very honored to be here and speaking to you today. I love everything that Nick does, so it's nice to meet you as well. But yeah, so my name's Toni. As you said, I'm a registered UK dietitian, but I live in Lima, Peru, and we're moving to the Philippines, so we live abroad from home. And when we moved to Lima, I decided to start my practice as the binge dietitian on Instagram. And yeah, a bit about how I got here. I think it's really interesting. I love listening to people's stories in this area and
Mm.
why they do the job that they do, whatever job it is. I think it's fascinating how people get there. And we were just talking before about how everything happens for a reason, and I truly believe there was things in my life that kind of led me to where I am today. So I'll try not to explain too much, but the first kind of major thing that I reflected on when I started my practice was when I was a child. I I went to Weight Watchers with my mum because she was a Weight Watchers coach. So a little bit differently to
Mm.
what I hear people talk to me about their experience of going to Weight Watchers with their mum, because I hear that quite a lot as like a starting point. But my mum was a Weight Watchers coach. But being a child, being surrounded by that kind of chat is
Mm.
definitely was a kind of, I don't know, a starting point into where I am today, I think. And then I would say as I grew up, I struggled with how I felt in my body. I was a dancer. When I was around like 16 to 18, I went to dance college and I experienced a very toxic
Mm.
environment to do with like food and body. I had the teachers were telling us that we needed to lose weight, that we shouldn't get our bellies out unless unless we look a certain way. And I watched a lot of my friends around me at that stage, like really crumble around their relationship with food. So they would restrict food and they wouldn't want to eat certain foods because of the way that they looked. And I think that's really
Mm.
common in the diet, in the dancing world.
Yeah.
Like what you look like is your job, and unfortunately, the pressure and the rate of eating disorder in that world is very high. But I decided to leave that. And that's when I kind of found dietetics and to become a dietitian. So my goal was to always work with people with eating disorders. And I think that was from my experience from dancing. But when I qualified and when I learned to be a dietitian, we didn't learn anything to do with like non-diet or intuitive eating, and everything
Mm.
was quite weight centric. And when I say weight centric, is what I mean by that is that the advice is to always lose weight, that people should just lose weight to improve their health. And that was kind of the message we got told as upcoming dietitians. So when I qualified, I did go down into that
Mm.
weight management role, and where I would help people to lose weight. So I was that dietitian that would tell you that you need to lose weight and to restrict your food and to eat less, move more. And I
Mhm.
just felt like that wasn't satisfying, or it just, people were coming back even more stuck. I could help people lose weight short term, but it was the long term. And then when I researched
Oh.
into it and did more training, I found that, okay, there is this like non-diet weight inclusive kind of approach that kind of interested me. So yeah, that's kind of a long story to how I got to where I am today.
Amazing. Oh, I love that you saw what was happening with your clients and saw that you could help them short term and they were reaching those weight loss goals, but then they were coming back and they were struggling. And how amazing is it that you had that insight and awareness to actually go away and figure out why? I feel like so many professionals, health professionals, see their clients struggling and they just stay on the same prescription or the same treatment plan and they don't challenge, well, why was I taught this? Or why was I taught this approach for clients? So love that you went away and went down the rabbit hole of kind of the anti-diet, health at every size kind of approach because they are newer things in the field. But there is also so much literature backing it up nowadays. So we know that this works and it's sustainable. So really celebrating you on going down that path because yeah, there's lots of still old school therapists and old school dietitians that just kind of stick to what they know and don't expand. So
I think it also comes down to my experience in my 20s was very a
mm,
quite diety experience. I found myself kind of stuck in that restrict binge cycle. So I feel like I can really
mm,
um like understand how people get stuck, not as a professional but also as a human, in that cycle, and how to get out of it. So I remember seeing these people telling them that they should eat less, move more, which is very general advice that I wouldn't ever
mm,
do now, because I think it's too much more complex than that. um, but when I was doing it, I was kind of myself telling people that they should lose weight, and then I was kind of restricting food all day and then binge eating at night time. So I was
Yeah.
like really conflicted in, I was telling people to do one thing and I was doing another thing. So I think that also, my experience with dieting and wanting to lose weight and being kind of trapped in diet culture definitely contributed.
And I think that that lived experience makes you even more powerful in what you do. Hey, I think walking in the shoes of the woman that we support makes us even more helpful. So yeah, yeah. Oh, amazing. I love hearing people's stories too. I love understanding how people came into this work and why we're all so passionate. So thank you for sharing that with us. So we thought we might chat with everyone today again because Tony's a dietitian, so that means you've got a unique set of skills that are a bit different from mine. We could start off chatting about that concept of satisfaction. So, like, what makes food satisfying? Because as we know, we can tend to have your dinner, you're feeling full, your tummy's full, you know you're full physically. However, an hour later or a half an hour later, you find yourself with your head in the fridge, just looking for that little sweet treat or a little something to top off the night. Um, why do we do that? There's something missing, isn't there? And I think it's that satisfaction piece. So I thought it would be great if we could explore that concept of why we maybe don't feel satisfied and how we can move towards that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when I start doing this work with people, and I love that my job is to help them make like food fun again, because I
Mm,
think dieting, we when the people that I work with are kind of what we call yo-yo dieters, where they kind of go
mm,
on and off a diet throughout their life, probably from since they were teenagers till where they are now. And they've tried so many diets and they've ended up being so confused and so overwhelmed with what the hell to eat, um, without the kind of those like the anxiety of, oh, is that the right thing, I shouldn't be eating that, all the kind of food, we call that food noise, right?
yeah.
The thoughts that kind of consume you when you're eating. So when food noise is really high, so yeah, I love the fact that my job is to help them make food fun again, because I'm such a believer that food is meant to be fun, and not only just fun, but I think food is a lot about memories, and like holds a lot of memories with
Absolutely.
the people that we love. I know for me, my granddad, like food was such a big thing that me and him did. So like there's just such happy memories are tied to that. And I think diet culture kind of makes you think that food is just for energy and you shouldn't
Yes.
eat too much fat, you shouldn't eat too much carbs. There's all these like rules, which makes it so confusing. And I think that's what I tend to see is people come to me, they're very rigid in their food choices, that they'll kind of, I don't know, just eat porridge every day and a salad at lunch, and it tends to be like the same every day. And I mean, I could quite easily say that they're bored of the food. They're not. There's no
Mm,
like excitement in eating it. But what there is a kind of like safety with it, that you feel safe eating it. So there's a lot of like untangling work that probably therapists can really help with as well with that. But I think that always the starting point when we're thinking of making food fun, I always have to make sure that people are eating regularly and enough to begin with. Because if you're
yeah.
not eating regularly enough, and then we start to challenge some rules that you might have about food, I don't know, let's say like you shouldn't cook with oil
Mhm.
as an example, whereas oil is a way of cooking that can actually make food taste nicer and more satisfying. But if you're not eating regularly and enough to begin with, it can be really hard to challenge
Yeah.
those thoughts. So the first starting point for anyone is regularity and adequacy, making sure that you're eating enough. Then when we've kind of reached that, the variety, which can be where we can start making food fun, is really
Mm.
it's a really exciting stage, I think.
Definitely, yes. And I totally agree that the first step in any recovery journey, and everyone listening, you would have heard me bleat on about it 1,000 times before, is let's just first work on getting that structure, building that trust that food is always there. You know, we end up having this kind of love-hate relationship with our body where our body has learned that maybe food isn't so reliable, and then you've got this, so it doesn't necessarily trust you. And then the reverse is true with you and your body, because then you're like, well, my body is betraying me when it's pushing me towards this food, and I'm overeating and my hunger hormones all over the place and the food noise is so loud. And so we need to work on building that two-way trust by that regular eating. That is the key. And once the trust is there and the safety is there, the foundation is there, then you move on to the mindset work. Then you move on to that variety and challenging those food rules. And I love that you say making food fun again, because I totally agree. Food should be fun. Food is fun. Yes, it is fuel. We know the rhetoric around food is fuel. Yes, it is. However, it's also like a sense of joy and pleasure in life. And we are sensory creatures. And there is absolutely no moral failing in taking pleasure or joy in food. Make the most of it. Like, we've got taste buds for a reason, right? We're supposed to be, you know, enjoying all of the different nuances that food has to offer us. So, love that you really focus on that with your clients.
And I think it's really like a lot of people might say to me they're eating regularly and they're eating enough for what they think.
Mm,
And a lot of the time, people do come to me and they are already eating regularly. They've maybe seen a lot that we push that all the time, and then they're like, "Why am I still binging when even though I'm
mm,
eating enough and eating regularly?" And a lot of the time, my answer is that there's no fun in your diet. Like you are, there's still a sense of restriction, really. And you
yes,
might not be physically restricting food, but you're physically restricting certain food. You're physically restricting certain foods and mentally restricting a lot of
yes,
foods, which in itself can also cause binge eating. So I think examples that I can think of are like salads. Instead of just having no bread and grilled chicken, have breaded chicken or some bread alongside it. And that's going to make
mm,
that meal so much more satisfying, and you're going to feel so much more energy from it, that you're maybe not going to crave the chocolate and the sweets after whatever it is you're craving. And it's the
mhm,
same with like oats, making it with water, making it versus making it with milk. There is such a taste difference, and we can feel more like satisfied and fuller from with it with milk versus water.
mhm,
And I think it's just going against everything that anyone's ever been told, right? Which is, I think, really hard in the work that we do, and why we have to keep on saying it, because we're told we should cut calories and low fat as possible and no oil and all these things. Whereas we're like, no, maybe
yes.
try and add them in, because then you might actually find you'll stop the binge eating and you'll stop that kind of pull towards certain foods.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And one of the pieces of work that I introduce people to is food freedom groups. So I guess like what we were taught by, you know, I don't know what it's like in the UK, probably very similar to New Zealand, is, we have like the food pyramid, and it's like, oh, you must be eating this, this, and this, and don't touch that, and these are good and these are bad. But the food freedom groups are okay, we all know we need protein, we've got carbs, we've got fats, but the other group out of the five is fun and
Yeah.
color. And the reason I put fun in there is about that satisfaction piece, and about, eat your soul foods, eat the foods that remind you of your granddad, eat the foods that you just love the taste or the texture or the aroma. Like, those are your fun foods, and they deserve to be on your plate as much as the protein. And we're in such a protein focused culture right now. They're adding protein to everything. And like, yes, protein forward meals are more satisfying. physically, and that's great. However, you can't just live on protein bars. Well, actually, you probably could, but you're going to feel like crap. And you're also going to be living with a lot of food noise, and where's the joy in that? So, yes, absolutely. I think that fun and the classification of fun foods should be included in any sort of planning with your food, right?
Yeah. Just like you said, you've like when you're thinking of your plate, you've got the carbs, the protein, the fiber, the fun. That's I think that's really important. And the fun might be the sauce alongside it, or a bit of cheese on top. I mean, who doesn't love cheese on top of anything? Or it might be a creamy pasta sauce rather than a tomatoey one. And that one meal isn't going to do anything different to your health or where you
No.
are. But the stress of it, I mean, I had a client, the stress of having like a creamy pastry sauce was so strong that we had to really work on that. And she had to have it regular to be able to come over that fear because yeah, it was so strong. And I was like, the stress of the thought of it is more harmful to your health than actually eating it.
Oh, well, I think that's the perfect segue into talking about like that meal planning and preparation. And I think diet culture, another thing that it's kind of taken from us in a way, is that meal planning. And meal planning can be something that you do from a space of empowerment and from a place of love. But so often, when we're stuck in that diet culture trap, we end up doing meal planning and meal tracking on, we're using the apps and such, and we use it as a way to police ourselves and to feel that guilt and shame if we're not following the plan or the regime perfectly. And oftentimes, these plans as well are dictated by things external to us. So, whatever the latest fad is, or latest rule, or whatever, or what the gym trainer said, or what the GP, or whatever, some podcast you heard. But meal planning in the way that we're going to talk about it now is, again, it's coming from that place of body respect, self love. It's coming from tuning into your internal cues and your own preferences and attending to that rather than all of that external noise. So, how do you support your clients with meal planning in a way that is like empowered and safe?
Yeah, that's a great question because I would say the first question I mostly get from people when I say that I'm a dietitian, the way that I kind of promote meal planning in a safe and encouraging way is like a flexible meal plan. So, like, there are
Mm,
a lot of benefits of meal planning in terms of time, money, effort. And if you're going to the supermarket without any idea about what you're cooking and you're
yeah.
grabbing things, you're going to spend a lot more money and you're going to spend a lot more time there. So there are
Mhm.
benefits of, making a list of what foods you're going to eat this week. And I always explain it in a way we're not looking for Monday breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're
Mhm.
just looking for like what you've got in the fridge and what you've got available to you. And what I always recommend people to do is to write down, start to keep a list, whether it's a list in your notes phone, mine's in my phone, of the meals that you make that you enjoy, and that are easy, and that you don't really need to look up a recipe. We've all got those kind of meals that we can just kind of throw together. And then when it comes to like, I don't know if you go shopping over the weekend and you kind of plan for Monday, um, instead of writing the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like writing it all out, plan it so okay, we've got these meals, and then on the day it's kind of like, what shall we have tonight? And I think that
Mm,
incorporates a little bit of flexibility and um, really tuning into what you want at that time. Whereas
yeah.
when we have a set plan like oats, salad, chicken, broccoli, and rice every day, it's gonna not be enjoyable and it's gonna be boring by the end. And it really disconnects you from what you actually want or need. So
Mm,
we want some thought around meal planning, um, but we don't want it to be like rigid and
yeah.
not enjoyable. We want to have that decision.
Mm. I can see how that empowerment piece comes in then, right? Is it's like you're giving yourself the best chance to make the best choice that honors you on a day by day basis of like, okay, well, what, physically, what do I feel like I need today? Like my nutritional needs, but also what do I actually fancy? Like, what do I fancy tonight? Because, sometimes we get something out of the freezer in the morning, get out the chicken or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a roast chicken. But then by the afternoon, I've changed. My preference has changed, and if you're prepared and you've got all the stuff in the fridge to whip something up different or maybe change the recipe slightly, then you can honor that kind of taste hunger or that kind of ebb and flow that we do have with our preferences, and that keeps food fun, and like we said, it keeps food satisfying. You're less likely to go back to the fridge at 10 o'clock because you forced yourself to eat the chicken that you actually didn't really want and it didn't hit the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, if you get chicken out in the morning, I always think like if that happens to me, I get chicken out in the morning and it was going to be my dinner for the evening, by the end of the day, I'm like, no, I can't even be bothered to cook. I've had such a
Mm.
long day. Just cooking isn't an option, and you decide to get a takeaway. I think
Hmm.
y- there are options. That chicken will probably be okay for tomorrow if
Yeah.
you can have it tomorrow,
Yeah.
or you could um pan fry it up and add it to lunches or add it into somewhere else. So there are things that, because I
Mm.
know that one thing that people always come to me about is about food waste, and they
Yeah.
really want to minimize their food waste. And I mean, who doesn't in this day and age in terms of how expensive everything is? So
Mhm.
there are ways around it, and we're never going to be perfect with our food waste. We will still have some food waste,
Yeah.
but we want to minimize that for sure.
Yes. And it's really interesting with on the topic of food waste is a lot of people will, that clean plate club mentality where it's like, I must finish everything on my plate because I don't want to waste it. So they eat way past that point of satisfaction to the point where they're like, oh, I'm not even tasting this. I'm not
Comfortable,
present with
yeah.
it. I'm feeling physically a bit yucky now. But at least I finished everything on my plate because it'd be a waste. But what I always say is it's like when you've eaten past that point, how is that any different than really putting it in the rubbish? Because you've not enjoyed that portion of your meal time, you're not enjoyed that food. Whereas if you pop it in a container, pop it in the fridge, and have it for your lunch tomorrow, I can guarantee you're going to enjoy that food, and you've not put it in the bin. It's not gone to waste at all, right? Like, so it is quite challenging to break that mentality, and we know it's often grounded in, when we were told you can't get up from the table until you finish your food. It comes from scarcity or
Yeah.
culture, but yeah.
Yeah, the clean plate club kind of mentality is something I see a lot.
Mm.
And like you said, a lot of the reasons is because they've not had access to food as children, and they were told if they don't finish it, they don't get anything else. And you can see why we get that mentality that we don't want to waste food. But also, if you need to challenge that thought, you need to start leaving food on the plate, and as uncomfortable as that is at first, it gets easier over time, and
Yeah.
you can be like, okay, I can leave my food now, or like you said, have
Yeah.
it plan it make more and have it for the next day. I think that's always an awesome way to save time
Mm.
and money. And
Absolutely. And I mean, you can always just end the meal and leave your plate there. And really, if you're hungry later, then you can eat more. That's totally okay. You can finish the
amazing.
plate then. But if you come back later and you realize, no, actually, I was at that point of fullness, I'll pop it in the fridge and I'll take it to work tomorrow. Such a win. Oh, what is there anything else that you want to share in terms of like meal planning or finding satisfaction with food and making it fun again?
I think a lot of the time people need to get rid of the perfectionistic side of it and understand that
Yeah.
life is messy. So, food and meal planning and everything about life is messy. So, if you don't do it perfectly, That's okay. Um, the perfectionism around food in the work that with the people that I work with is so high. Need to focus on our regularity, enjoying food, and the satisfaction, really.
Yeah, awesome. I love that and I wholeheartedly agree. And I'm sure everyone listening has taken away some little golden nuggets out of this chat. So, Tony, if somebody wanted to connect with you, where can they find you? Like where are you hiding on the internet? And because you're a jet setter, so you work totally online, right?
Yes, so you can find me mainly on Instagram, which is the binge dietitian, and then my website is thebingedietitian.com. And yeah, I've got a website you can have a look at. And then there's loads of different ways you can get in contact with me, whatever feels comfortable for you, because I know that it's really nervous reaching out to people and saying hello to
Mhm.
these people that talk about this type of food life. But yeah, there's loads of different ways on my website.
Awesome. So Instagram and website are the easiest places to find you. And I'll make sure to put those links in the show notes. So binge dietitian, we've got some dots in there. So I will make sure that we put it in properly. But thank you so, so much. It's been lovely to finally, well, virtually meet you. I just love connecting with other women in this space who are just doing such amazing work. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing some strategies with us.
And thank you so much for having me.
No problem.